Welcome back to another explainer. Today we're going to tackle something really fun. We're treating viral success completely differently. Not as some random stroke of luck or hitting the algorithm lottery, but as a solvable psychological mystery. We've all seen it, right? Those pieces of content that just absolutely explode online. Sometimes they do double a channel's normal numbers, sometimes 10 times, or even 100 times better. And the knee-jerk reaction is usually, wow, they got so lucky, or well, they must have some massive Hollywood connection. But what if that's literally just wrong? So let's dive into this. Let's challenge the whole assumption that you absolutely need, crazy expensive camera gear, a massive production budget, or just pure dumb luck to get views. Because when you actually sit down and compare hundreds of these hyper-successful pieces of content side by side, this really fascinating truth comes out. The cameras, completely different. Editing styles, all over the map. The creators themselves were completely different people, but the exact way they captured and held human attention, it was actually shockingly similar. There are hidden patterns driving the success, and honestly, once you spot them, you can engineer them yourself.
Just take a look at this. This perfectly illustrates the whole concept of an outlier. Picture a channel where normally things sit comfortably around 5,000 or 6,000 views. Steady, predictable, right? But then out of nowhere, bam. One completely shatters that baseline and rockets to 82,000 views. That outlier is literally screaming at you. It's not just saying, hey, I did well. It's telling you that something about that specific idea or exactly how it was framed connected with the viewer's psychology perfectly. And man, that is incredibly valuable data. Because instead of just staring at a blank screen wondering, what should I make today? You get to ask a way smarter question. Okay, what's already working, and how can I adapt that underlying psychological trigger for us?
Which brings us to our very first clue in this detective story. Pattern 1, familiarity wins. Let's see how this completely flips the old "you have to invent something new" advice on its head. So we constantly hear that to stand out, you have to invent something completely new, right? Be 100% original. But think about how our brains actually work. We make lightning-fast decisions. When you open up an app, you're just bombarded with hundreds of thumbnails all fighting for your attention. You definitely aren't sitting there carefully analyzing every single one. No way. Your brain is aggressively looking for patterns to reduce mental friction. When you see a format like a ranking or a challenge or, an "I tried this for 30 days" kind of thing, you instantly recognize the rules of the game before you even click. A totally unknown, completely original format, that actually creates uncertainty. It feels like high mental effort. But a familiar format? Instant recognition. And instant recognition wins the click. The crucial point here is that you really don't need a brand new format. You just need to take your totally unique subject and slot it into a structure audiences already intuitively get. Say you run a travel channel. You could make just another ordinary destination vlog. And it might be great, but it's mentally taxing for a brand new viewer to commit to. So, instead, what if you do a format transfer? Take a structure people already inherently love, like rankings, and apply it to your trip. Ranking every hotel on this island. Boom. Right away, the viewer doesn't have to guess the pacing or the whole point of the video. The format is familiar, but the subject is fresh, and that's the combo, absolutely powerful. But getting the click is really only half the battle, so let's look at pattern 2. The power of open loops. This is all about keeping them hooked. Because once they click, you have to keep them there. And the absolute best way to do that is with an open loop. Think about a typical opening. Someone might say, here are 5 ways to save money. It's clear, sure, but it's super predictable. Now imagine flipping that and setting up a highly specific problem with a surprising hook. Something like, I found one mistake in my bank statements costing me hundreds every month, and I didn't notice it for years. Oh man. Suddenly, you've just dropped this massive, urgent problem right into the viewer's lap. By intentionally holding back the answer, you've opened a loop. You've essentially given the viewer's brain a puzzle it desperately wants to solve. What's the mistake? Am I making that exact same mistake right now? How on earth do I fix it? Because you haven't given the answer yet. The brain craves that closure. It's literally like a detective story. You establish the problem, hint at a surprise, and then you delay the resolution. Now, you don't make them wait in boring silence, obviously. You give them clues and progress along the way, but keeping that central question alive is what hooks them all the way to the very end. Okay, let's dive into the most misunderstood one. Pattern 3, selling the identity. People aren't just clicking for information, they want a transformation. This brilliantly illustrates that shift.
Most creators assume viewers are just strictly there to learn a fact. But the biggest outliers prove people are actually clicking to transform. Just look at the difference here. How to Move Abroad is purely informational. It sounds like reading a spreadsheet, right? But shift that framing to, I left my old life behind and started again. It's the exact same core topic, but the emotional promise is totally different. That second version is an invitation. It lets the viewer step into those shoes and vividly imagine who they could actually become if they took that leap. So the crucial point here is that behind every viral hit, there's this hidden driver. The viewer is staring at the screen, silently asking, could this be me? If it's a fitness video, it isn't really about the perfect biomechanics of a squat. It's about the viewer's deep desire to feel stronger. If it's finance, it's not about the budget template, it's about finally gaining control over their life. The topic might catch their eye, but selling them on the identity of who they can become, that's what creates the absolute burning desire to click and keep watching. Now, even if they want that transformation, we have to clear one final hurdle. Pattern 4, credibility fast. Because why should they trust you? What's super interesting about this is how it shows you need to lead with hard evidence instantly, instead of dragging us through a boring biography. Literally nobody wants a 30-second life story up front. So instead of saying, hi, I'm John, I've been doing this a long time, and today I'll teach you photography, you dropped the hammer right away. I've photographed 400 weddings and learned which 3 mistakes absolutely ruin the first dance. Wow. Instantly, you've given them context and a rock-solid reason to listen. You aren't just making some vague claim. You are putting your track record right on the table. Results, numbers, immediate credibility. So let's bring it all together. The synthesis, the outlier workflow. Let's see how this builds into a master formula you can use right now. Because by following these exact 6 steps, you finally get to stop guessing and start reverse engineering the psychology of what actually works for your audience. Step 1. Find the successful outliers in your specific niche. Look for those giant view spikes. Step 2. Totally ignore the topic for a second and just study the format. Is it a ranking, a challenge? Step 3. Pinpoint the curiosity gap. What was the unanswered question that made people care so much? Step 4. Identify the identity. Who was the viewer imagining becoming? Step 5. Spot the credibility signal. How did the creator prove they could be trusted in those first 5 seconds? And finally, Step 6. Rebuild that exact psychological architecture around your own unique subject and audience. You aren't copying them, you're just translating the psychology of why it worked. Because at the end of the day, you aren't really competing on who has the craziest cinema camera or the flashiest editing software. None of that matters if the underlying psychology has broken. You are literally competing for the few seconds a viewer is mindlessly scrolling on a super crowded, chaotic screen. You are competing to instantly answer the subconscious questions their brain is rapid firing. Do I recognize this? Why should I care? What could I discover? And why should I trust you? And this brilliantly illustrates your final takeaway, a concrete 4-pillar checklist to literally keep next to your desk. Before you commit to your next project, ask yourself, do you have a recognizable format that lowers the mental barrier? Do you have strong curiosity built through a killer open loop? Are you offering a desired identity that makes the viewer go, oh, I want that to be me? And you have immediate credibility so they trust your guidance? If you hit all 4 of these, you are engineering content that viewers instantly understand, desperately want, and absolutely trust. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to ask yourself before you hit publish next time. Don't just look at it and ask, is this good? That's way too vague. Ask yourself, is this something the right person instantly understands, wants, trusts, and honestly just can't stop wondering about? Because I promise you, once you see these 4 patterns, familiarity, open loops, identity, and credibility, you simply cannot unsee them. You'll spot them everywhere. The mystery is officially solved. Now it's time for you to start engineering your own outliers.